Ana Walshe was a loving wife and mother of 3 young children. On New Year's Day in 2023, she had a work emergency and had to suddenly leave, but was never seen again. After police find suspicious CCTV footage and disturbing Google searches, they realised Ana never left the family home that night, but instead met a terrible fate. Hi everyone, and welcome back to Partners in Crime. My name is Poppy.
And I'm Roger.
And as always, we are here to give you a true crime case that I know everything about, and Roger doesn't know anything about.
Not a thing.
And he's here just to give his opinion and
Just
what else do you give?
What else do I give? So much. No, just pick at your story here and there.
Ask questions that
Ask
you might
questions.
be thinking at home.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
I try and do.
What we do. It's fine.
This is the audience participation part, and it's all channeled through me.
Exactly what he said.
Yeah.
Before we get started, just remember to like and subscribe. That would be amazing. And please comment.
Yeah, comment
as well. We like hearing your comments.
We do like seeing your comments and hearing your comments.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So this case, I felt like I heard about it a long time ago, really long time ago, but it actually was only in 2023, and it kind of resurfaced a bit recently, and it just confused me because I thought it was kind of like wham bam, the door is closed, it's finished, but it's not.
No.
So this is why we're talking about it today, because some more things has come out, it's progressed a little bit. So yeah, we're going to get into it today. So, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, let's go. This case follows a family consisting of Brian, Ana, and their 3 children, aged 2, 4, and 6 years old, who live in Cohasset, Massachusetts, in the US. Brian is 47 years old, and according to his LinkedIn page, he is the CFO and CEO of multiple companies.
Okay.
He's an only child, but is estranged from his wealthy father, who is a renowned neurologist in Boston. But he is still in contact with his mum, but they are separated.
Right.
Ana Walshe, her maiden name is Lubicic, was originally from Serbia, but emigrated to the US in 2005 at 22 years old.
Okay.
She started working in the hospitality industry, mostly in hotels. This is actually how she met her husband, Brian, while she was working at the Wheatley Hotel in Lenox, Massachusetts, as a reservations manager in 2008. She later went on to earning a master's in hospitality management at Cornell University, which is a pretty big university.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's one of the Ivy Leagues, but it's highly, known. They got married in 2015, and they had a very intimate ceremony where none of Brian's family attended.
Okay. Is that a red flag? Would that be a red flag for you? You were marrying someone and the other?
Yeah.
And there was no one from the family? Do you think friends? Is there friends there?
There was no mention.
Oh, okay.
But I imagine at this point they probably had kind of shared friends and stuff.
Yeah, sure.
So,
yeah, okay.
but I don't know about any childhood friends.
Right.
Or anything like that. But I mean, that wouldn't have been a surprise to her.
No, sure.
She would have got to the ceremony and like, what?
Well, none of them are coming?
I mean, it might have been. He might have lied, who knows, but...
And it's probably not... You probably don't know it, but was her family there?
I had some confusing information. Some places that they got married in Serbia.
Oh, right, okay.
Which would probably explain why no one from Brian's family was there, because it's a long way to go. But then a lot of other places said they got married in Boston.
Okay.
Where family and friends were there, for Ana.
Right. Some conflicting information.
So that's why I didn't specify kind of where it was and stuff, because I wasn't... Unless they had 2. They could have easily had 2, because they had money.
Yeah,
so,
money to spend.
Yeah.
On weddings.
Yeah, so...
Okay.
Anna was a highly independent and ambitious woman who wanted to succeed in life. In 2010, she began working her way up the corporate ladder, getting promoted twice in 3 years, then moving to a different line of work, real estate, where she flourished and was continuously stepping up the ladder in terms of job role and pay. Then in 2022, she finally landed a new job, becoming the regional general manager at Tishman Speyer, which is a high-end real estate firm in Washington, D.C. Not only that, but she also has 4 rental properties in Massachusetts, Maryland, and Washington.
Wow, living the American dream, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Not a refugee, but being an immigrant, I suppose.
Yeah.
Making a life for yourself. Wow.
That's it, exactly. She'd only, come to America like 15 years before. So it's pretty good going. She did get, she is smart, like she had like degrees in Serbia as well, but they don't cross over, do they, to like Western jobs and stuff, do they?
I mean, it might depend, but maybe not so much. I don't know.
They don't usually, because it's a different like system and stuff.
Syllabus.
Exactly.
Curriculum.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, that's why people, you always hear of people coming from like Eastern countries, and they're like brain surgeons, and then they come over to like the UK, and they're like having to be like really low end jobs because their degrees don't translate over.
Yeah, right.
They'd have to relearn.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, doesn't matter. So it's safe to say she was doing really well for herself, selling $1 million homes, and also from her own rental properties.
Yeah.
So because her new job resides in Washington, Anna and Brian had made a plan where she would stay in Washington during the week and fly back home for the weekend every week.
Wow.
So it's quite a lot.
Yeah.
It's
taxing.
Yeah, it is over 400 miles to travel back and forth. But when you have young children, I suppose you're going to kind of make that effort and the means.
Yeah,
to
sure.
Be able to do
well,
it.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know how long that is on a plane.
No, it wouldn't be that long. It would have
been a few hours, though, obviously.
Yeah. Well, it'd be similar to flying from here to Scotland, probably. If it's 400 miles.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't be. It wouldn't take that long. The flight really, you'd probably spend more time in security than you would in the flight, but anyway.
Well, let us know if anyone knows. Anna bought a $1.3 million townhouse in the affluent neighborhood of Chevy Chase, Washington. And the idea was that when the time was right, Brian and the kids would move to Washington and they would live there permanently. So, I mean, she's getting a $1.3 million house, you know what I mean? So, after many years of marriage in 2022, Anna and Brian were spending New Year's Eve at home together, and they invited their friend round called Jem. I don't know how to say the surname. Jem Mulu or Mutlu or... I'm so sorry, I don't know how to say it.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Who arrived around 8 p.m. for dinner and then left around 1 a.m. on New Year's Day. Anna had just flown home on the 30th of December from Washington and was due to fly back again on the 3rd, so she could spend a few days at home with her family before heading back to her work. And shortly after Jem left, they also just went to bed. It was 1 a.m. Fast forward to the 4th of January 2023, Cohasset police received a call from someone at Tishman Speyer, the company that Anna works for, reporting that she never showed up to work, which was very unusual. And she wasn't answering her phone, which was even more unusual. Anna was always kind of highly dependable, so her colleagues were seriously concerned and asked the police for a wellness check in her hometown.
Yeah. Where her family, like the husband and the kids are.
Yeah, because I'm assuming someone had already kind of popped round to her house.
Right.
In Washington. And she wasn't there.
Okay.
Police officers show up to the home Anna shares with Brian, and they don't find her there. Brian explains how he hasn't seen her since the early hours of January the 1st, 2023. He explains how she had a work emergency. She got ready and kissed him goodbye and told him just to go back to sleep. She took either an Uber or a Lyft to the airport, like one of those ride share companies. He said this was between 4 and 6 a.m. He wasn't sure. Officers asked what he had been doing over the past few days, because, he hadn't...
What? Sorry, what time? 4 and 6?
Between 4 and 6 a.m. is when she left.
Yeah.
Officers asked what he had been doing over the past few days, because he hadn't reported her missing.
Right.
And he explains, on January the 1st, he got up at 7 to make breakfast for their 3 boys. In the afternoon, a babysitter arrived around 3 p.m. and he leaves to see his mother in Swampscott, which is about an hour and a half car journey. Brian goes on to say he got lost driving to his mother's house, and it takes him about 20 to 30 minutes longer than usual to get there. He said he didn't use his GPS because he was missing his cell phone, telling officers that one of their children must have taken the phone and that it wasn't found until the next day, hence why he got lost.
Mm-hmm.
While in Swampscott, he ran errands for his mother, and he went to CVS and Whole Foods, and he stayed at his mum's house only for around 15 minutes. I guess he was just going to help her out with some bits.
Right.
He then returned home at 8 p.m.
Okay.
He took one of his children for ice cream at a juice bar in Norwell on the 2nd of January, while the babysitter watched the 2 other kids. But that was kind of it. On the 2nd, he just kind of hung out at home.
Yeah.
Brian explained how it was normal for him to not hear from his wife for a few days at a time due to her busy schedule. He had no reason to be concerned from her silence. But because Anna never showed up to work and he hadn't heard from her, he filed a missing persons report, obviously.
When?
When the police were there, he was like, clearly she's missing then.
Yeah.
So he then filed it. When officers were leaving the home on the 4th of January, they had a quick peek in the cars at the property, and they noticed that Brian's vehicle had the back seats down and a plastic liner in the back of the car.
Ooh.
Suspicious.
That is quite suspicious. Why would you be doing
But
stuff
then
like
I've got
that?
things in my car.
Yeah, but you're a dog walker. So, I mean, if someone looked in the back of your car, they'd be like, it's covered in dog muck. Not in, as in poo,
It would be
just
hard
mud.
to find, someone's hair or something specifically, because it's
it'd be so much dog hair. Like, oh no, another dog hair.
And so many different kinds of dog hair as well. It'd be really hard.
There's a Labrador and a Spaniel. That's a bit dubious though. Especially I'd say on New Year's Eve, around that time. I mean, people aren't really doing. I feel like people aren't really doing that, man.
On the 5th of January, officers returned to the Walshe home and noticed that the plastic liner was gone from Brian's vehicle, and the carpet of the car showed fresh vacuum streaks. When officers asked Brian about this, he simply said he threw the liner in the bin. Cohasset police get the word out on social media that they are looking for help from the public to find Anna. They say she was last seen early in the morning of New Year's Day and speaks with an Eastern European accent. Police spoke with the man who last saw Anna alive on New Year's Eve, Jem Mulu. He described the night at the Walshes' home as festive and said Brian made an elaborate meal. He said, "We hugged and celebrated and we toasted, just what you do over New Year's. There was a lot of looking forward to the new year. There was no indication of anything other than celebrating the new year. All the problems were on hold." He explained how on the 4th of January, Brian called him to let him know Anna was missing. Jen went on to say, "She was texting with friends. She was sitting next to me at the bar stool at their kitchen. There was absolutely no indication that any modicum of tragedy, of disappearance, or anything else could have happened that night." So, yeah, he's saying there's no reason. Everything was fine. Nothing to report, basically.
Yeah.
On the 6th of January, police start searching the woods near Route 3A, about a mile from Anna's home, but they found nothing.
A mile from her home in Washington or in...
In
Boston, wherever it was.
In Massachusetts.
Right.
In Cohasset.
Yeah, okay. So from their family home.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that's where she was last seen.
Yeah, sure.
No one else has said that they've seen her in Washington yet.
Yeah, so. Okay. So it was in woods, in
some
local
woods. Yeah.
Okay.
On the 7th of January, a breakthrough finally happened when the Cohasset police received an email which stated, "We have the so-named Ana Walshe with us here. We had a deal worth $127,000. She messed up. We have her here with us, and if she doesn't pay the money, then she'll never be back. And we know that the police and the FBI are involved. Good luck finding us."
Dubious.
It was sent from the Gmail account of Richard Walker 9984.
What were the numbers?
9984.
9984. Okay.
Officers initially found this email suspicious, as it didn't match the kind of normal ransom emails/notes they've received in the past. The emailer didn't put forth a timeline to respond to the demand, and they also didn't include any kind of contact information to go further with this ransom.
It was effectively just them saying, "We've got her."
Yeah.
In some respect.
And we want this money.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. But that was it. They didn't kind of say we want it by this time.
Yeah.
It was nothing like that. So from what I know, there wasn't a kind of response to it. They didn't kind of speak with this person further.
No. Right.
But I imagine they are looking into where it came from. Obviously, the IP address.
Yeah.
If they can do that, I don't know. Searches in nearby streams and pools were made. They used K9 units and the State Police Air Wing, but they still found nothing. And the search, the ground search for Anna that evening ended until they have any kind of further reason to be looking.
Okay.
In woods and stuff like that.
What was the date?
That was the 7th of January.
Yeah.
At least 6 investigators are tasked with driving to the North Shore area of Massachusetts and watching surveillance video to try and verify Brian's timeline of events. As he said, he went to a few places.
Yeah.
On the 8th of January, police execute a search warrant for Anna and Brian's home. Investigators are seen removing boxes of evidence from inside the house, while others had shovels in hand. And they found some interesting items when looking in the basement. They had found a blood stain and a bloody, damaged knife.
Ooh. Why would you keep that?
Wow. Well, we don't know what that's from. No, we don't know what it's
from, no.
Brian is immediately arrested, but charged with misleading the investigation, as Anna has now been missing for 1 week.
Yeah,
Okay. January the 9th. Brian Walshe was arraigned in court and pleaded not guilty to a charge of misleading police. Lynn Beeland, the prosecutor, said investigators had found no evidence of Ana Walshe taking a ride share from the couple's home on the 1st of January. She said his statements to police caused a delay in the investigation. The judge set bail at $500,000 cash and set the next hearing for the 9th of February. Prosecutors released the affidavit in support of a criminal complaint that lays out Brian's timeline of the prior week. An affidavit is a sworn statement that is documented in writing. The affiant must swear that the facts contained in it are true and correct. And once signed, it holds the force of law and binds the individual to the truthfulness of the information that they have provided. Does that make sense? So it's basically, it's kind of like a witness statement, I guess.
Yeah,
Brian said, this is what happened, and they're kind of saying, it's not true.
Right. Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah. Is that what an affidavit is then?
Yeah. The affidavit describes Brian Walshe's statements to the police as a clear attempt to mislead and delay investigators. The affidavit outlines several trips he made that were not requested and approved beforehand, and that they may represent violations of terms of his probation.
His probation?
Yeah, so he was on probation.
So we're learning something new about Brian?
Yes. It was for a crime he had committed a number of years before this incident.
Right. Okay, so Brian's on parole.
He's on house arrest.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
So, if he were to have travelled, that would have been breaking his parole.
To
his mother's house.
Yeah, him travelling to his mother's house, going to CVS, Whole Foods, going for ice cream.
It's all a break of his
parole. Because he didn't ask if he didn't say, like, hey, I'm doing this, is that cool?
Yeah, right.
Yes, no.
Yeah.
So let's quickly go back to 2016. 7 years before today's case. A renowned art dealer, considered one of the top Andy Warhol dealers in the US, Ron Rivlin, found 2 Andy Warhol paintings on eBay. Ron described how the images showed that they were authenticated by Andy Warhol's estate, like a stamp, and were from the 1978 series of untitled abstract canvas paintings known as Shadows, and were being sold for $80,000 as a two.
A unit.
As a unit, yeah.
Group or whatever, yeah.
The owner of these paintings was Brian Walshe.
Yeah.
As a seasoned Andy Warhol art dealer, Ron knew these were legit and was happy to pay for them. Brian didn't want the transaction to go through eBay, so requested they meet face-to-face to exchange. Ron sent his assistant with an $80,000 cashier's check, and they both signed a contract stating Ron had 3 days to return the paintings in order to get a full refund if he wasn't happy for whatever reason.
Yeah.
After close inspection, Ron Rivlin quickly realised that these paintings were fake. Shock. There wasn't the authentication stamp as previously shown, and the canvas looked brand new, not 40 odd years old.
Yeah.
It turns out Brian had a friend in South Korea who had the real Andy Warhol paintings.
Right, okay.
He took the paintings, telling his friend he could sell them for a great price. But instead, he took pictures of them with the authentication stamp, etc., and put them up on eBay, only to buy replicas of the paintings that he then gave to Ron Rivlin, so he could then continue this scam multiple times to multiple people.
Yeah. Cheeky bastard.
Yeah, so that's how he managed to dupe the professional art dealer.
Right.
His friend tried to contact him about the paintings, whether he'd sold them or not. But Brian never got back to him, and he was never compensated either for his real Andy Warhol paintings.
Right. Oh, who wasn't compensated?
His friend that he took the paintings from, said he could get a good price for them.
Oh, I see. Yeah, right.
He just took the paintings, blocked him.
Right. Okay.
And never gave him any money for them ever.
Right. So Brian does have the real ones.
Yeah.
But he's flogging fake ones.
Mm-hmm.
I see.
Exactly. This was only one of the victims. Like I said, there was others too.
Yeah.
I couldn't find as much detail on them as much as this one, but apparently another victim of this fraud sent him $140,000 for the paintings, which he spent on a brand new 2015 Maserati for Anna, and took her shopping in Prada in France.
What a wanker!
Yes. This ultimately led to an FBI investigation where Brian was finally arrested in 2018. Less than a year after marrying Anna, he was arrested. It turned out Brian actually used Anna's eBay account when committing the crimes, so she got thrown into the mess of it all too.
Right.
Luckily, she was found to have no kind of part in this, and Brian was charged with wire fraud, interstate transportation for a scheme to defraud, possession of converted goods, and unlawful monetary transaction in November 2018.
Right.
So basically a whole bunch of fraud stuff.
Yeah.
This was said by the prosecution on the case. The crime was devious, complicated, and planned. He travelled to multiple countries. He enlisted multiple artists to prepare fake paintings with multiple lies. He involved private galleries, auction houses, and even eBay in his scheme. He manipulated and stole from people who trusted him, welcomed him into their homes, and considered him a close friend. He crafted stories and lies about the paintings to make the fraudulent sales believable. Walshe proved so successful, in fact, that the FBI has not yet recovered the artwork, despite an investigation of several years and the defendant's guilty pleas, because he does end up pleading guilty. So they still haven't found the original artwork.
Right, blimey.
That he's
crazy.
Took from his friend.
Yeah,
They don't know where it is. It's crazy. Where is it? Where has he put it?
Don't know. Maybe he's put it in a safe and chucked it in the sea, like in that Simpsons episode.
Maybe. In April 2021, Brian Walshe pleaded guilty to 3 of the 4 counts in exchange for a recommended sentence of incarceration, supervised release, fines, restitution, and forfeiture. Forfeiture?
Yeah,
Forfeiture?
I mean, I wouldn't have known that was a word anyway. But
Forfeiture.
I guess that's
it's lost all meaning.
just the act of forgery.
Forfeit. Oh, I thought it was like forfeiting.
That's like one of his counts, right? One of his
Yeah.
supervised release, fines, restitution.
And that's one of his,
right, no, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, forfeiting and something.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. Okay.
He also agreed to either return the artworks or pay for them. As part of pre-sentencing probation, Brian Walshe was placed on monitoring and house arrest. He can request to leave home but must detail the specific locations, times and reasons, which is how he broke his probation due to the trips to his mum's house, etc. Yeah. He didn't tell his probation worker. So whilst the current case that we're talking about is going on, he's still on probation from another.
Yeah.
That hasn't resolved yet.
No.
He hasn't been sentenced. He hasn't,
Right.
He hasn't been found guilty or not guilty of it yet.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
So he's still on house arrest and they're awaiting the
trial
court date.
or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, well. Okay.
Yeah. So it's just like a whole mess. This is also why Anna was able to work away 5 days a week, because Brian was on house arrest. He couldn't work. So he had basically all the time to look after the young children.
Right. Sure.
So that basically just gives an insight into what kind of person Brian is. That story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dubious.
Interesting, yeah. So back to the case. Investigators were looking into Brian's timeline he gave them, double checking CCTV, etc. of the places he mentioned in order to corroborate his story. Turns out, on the 1st of January, when he went to Whole Foods and CVS and Swampscott for his mum...
He didn't!
That didn't happen. Correct. They could not find his car or him entering either shop on CCTV at the times that he said. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Another lie he told was that he had lost his phone. Investigators found, using cell phone data, that it was actually just plugged in at home all day. Yet his oldest son's phone did not stay at home.
Right.
The phone data showed the oldest child's device had travelled to 2 shops. Surveillance video showed Brian Walshe walking into those same stores by himself.
Okay.
Then around 5:30 p.m, surveillance showed Brian and his vehicle going to a dumpster in the parking lot of a liquor store and disposing of bin bags before returning to his car. After that, cell phone data shows the device travelled to the dumpster at an apartment building where Brian's mother lived. The phone then travelled to Lowe's store, which is a home improvements shop, kind of like B&Q if you're from the UK, where Brian is also seen on surveillance footage.
So he did go and visit his mother, or at least he went to the location where his mother is.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he went to the block of flats where she lives.
Right.
Yeah.
No proof necessarily if he went in and spoke to her and saw her and all that shit, but he went there. Okay.
But there's footage that shows him going to the dumpster.
Yeah. Okay.
He purchased 5 gallon buckets, a hacksaw, 48 terry cloth towels, a full coverage suit, 200 disposable rags, trash bags, and cleaning products. So, not suspicious at all. The phone then travels to a CVS store where Brian was also seen on surveillance, purchasing 13 different types of hydrogen peroxide. Like, how is that even allowed? Like, I don't know in America, but here we've got, like, laws where if people are buying certain things, you have to flag it up. And you can't buy more than a certain amount of certain items because they can be used for dubious things.
Right. Did you have that with Sudafed by any chance?
Yeah.
Because that
medicine,
can be used.
yeah, that's different, yeah.
Well, yeah,
I'm talking about like nail varnish remover.
Right.
Bleach.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. You can't buy more than a few bottles because it can be used for other things.
Yeah.
Like a contact lens solution. You can't buy... Yeah, it can be used. That and like a few items together can make like meth or something. It's crazy, yeah.
Okay.
So if you didn't think he was guilty before, you definitely will now.
I mean, yeah, they're all things...
Allegedly, I'm saying.
Well, yes, but all of those things are the types of things one might use to dispose of a body.
Yes, there's only... Yeah, that combination of items is very, very, very suspicious.
Yeah.
And if you're still not sure, investigators found some very disturbing Google searches made on Brian's oldest son's iPad.
Right.
Too. Okay, so starting at 4:55 a.m. on January the 1st.
Oh, wow. What? When? 4:55
a.m., yeah.
Right.
Ready? I mean, you're not going to be able to write
No, I'm not going to
down.
write them all down.
Okay.
I'm not going to write anything down.
No. How long before a body starts to smell?
Okay.
Then at 4:58 a.m, how to stop a body from decomposing. Then 22 minutes later, how to embalm a body. At 5:47 a.m, 10 ways to dispose of a dead body if you really need to. What does that even mean?
Who's written the article that
there's all
popped up
kinds
for
of
that,
stuff.
right? Who's written that article? Anyway.
I know, I was tempted to kind of like copy these Google searches, but then I was just like, but what if something happens and then they think I've done something?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, something really obscure.
I mean,
would have to
my
happen,
Google history anyway, I'm screwed if, anything happens, but... At 6:25 a.m, how long for someone to be missing to inherit? At 6:34 a.m, can you throw away body parts? At 9:29 a.m, so 3 hours later, what does formaldehyde do? At 9:34 a.m, how long does DNA last? At 9:59 a.m, can identification be made on partial remains? And then a couple of hours later, at 11:34 a.m, dismemberment and the best ways to dispose of a body. At 11:44 a.m, how to clean blood from wooden floor. At 11:56 a.m, luminol to detect blood. And then a couple of hours later, at 1:08 p.m, what happens when you put body parts in ammonia? And then finally, at 1:21 p.m, is it better to throw crime scene clothes away or wash them?
Wow, so he sat from about 5 in the morning until then. Until when? Well, like 1:30 or something?
1:21.
1:21.
But there's significant gaps.
Yeah, sure.
So he's either fallen asleep,
or walking
having a nap,
yeah.
or
sort of pacing around and thinking
doing something.
Or that, yeah.
Plotting, planning where to go, what to get,
yeah,
and
sure.
making a shopping list probably of what he needs to buy.
Probably, yeah. Well, yeah, he's conducting all this research. He must be putting something together.
On the 2nd of January, more searches were found. Hacksaw, best tool to dismember. can you be charged with murder without a body? And can you identify a body with broken teeth? It's a horrible thing to search. It became pretty clear to investigators this guy might have killed Anna, dismembered her body, and disposed of her body parts. Allegedly.
Sounds about right.
I mean, yeah, you can't really. I mean, obviously, it wasn't done on his phone. It was his son. But
No,
come on, who's
there's obviously...
Their oldest son was 6, for God's sake. How is he going to spell dismemberment?
Yeah, true. I mean, there's obviously...
Ridiculous.
You can obviously always say, I was just looking, like, you know, or...
Nah,
something.
not that much.
But, well, no, not when something like that's happened. Not when there's someone missing. Right?
I'd fair enough, like, a couple of them, like, if you're watching, like, a TV, like, a true crime, and you're kind
maybe.
of like, oh, how long does DNA last?
Yeah, fair enough, yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Not like...
And not all on the same...
10 ways of how to dispose a body.
That's nuts, isn't it?
You know, stuff like that. It's just fucked up.
Fucking nut job.
Later, on January the 3rd, he did take one of his sons to get ice cream. That was true. But he seemed to miss out what else he did that day. According to surveillance video, Brian travelled to a Home Depot in Rockland, which is about 27 minutes away, wearing a surgical mask and gloves, and made a cash purchase. There, Brian bought $450 worth of cleaning supplies, including mops, a bucket, tarps, goggles, a hatchet, and baking soda. Then on the 3rd of January, more Google searches were found. He hadn't Googled enough. What happens to hair on a dead body? What is the rate of decomposition of a body found in a plastic bag compared to on a surface in the woods? So, I mean, how specific is that?
Well, yeah.
And can baking soda mask or make a body smell good?
Good?
What the fuck?
That's strange, isn't it? I guess that. It's probably just an accidental type, that, but still.
I know what everyone's thinking as well. This guy's a bloody idiot for Googling all these incredibly incriminating things.
Yeah.
Like, come on, in 2023... Do you not watch any, like, true crime docs? Do you know what I mean? It's not...
Probably not.
It's really not rocket science. Like, did he seriously not think this would be linked back to him? Anyway, cell phone data tracked Brian's whereabouts to an apartment complex in Abington at 4:27 p.m, 33 minutes away from his house. Surveillance video shows he exited his car with a heavy garbage bag and put it into the dumpster. At 4:48 p.m, per 20 minutes later, he travelled to another apartment complex in the same town. And at 5:10 p.m, he went to an apartment complex in a different town where he again discarded items in the dumpsters. These garbage bags were already taken away by the time police tracked them down.
Yeah.
However, officers went to nearby rubbish facility in Peabody, where they in fact managed to find some evidence in these bags.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, was it like was it remains or was it like tools?
I doubt
it.
But I doubt it was remains, but...
Why?
I don't know. I just feel like that would have been said, maybe.
Maybe. I don't know. But if he's walking around if he's plonking big heavy bags into dumpsters, then don't know. But yeah, anyway.
Police confirmed Anna never boarded her flight on the 1st or the 3rd of January and could never verify if she even got into the rideshare service. In fact, police said Anna's cell phone pinged in the area of the house in Cohasset on January the 1st and 2nd.
Right, okay.
So, I can't imagine she left and forgot her phone.
No, not when
Do you know what I mean?
Not when you're a busy, work.
Exactly.
Work bust.
On the 4th of January, which is finally the day that Anna is mentioned to the police about possibly being missing, Brian visited Home Goods and TJ Maxx to buy towels and bath mats, and visited Lowe's to buy squeegees and a trash can. And now you see the real reason why Brian never called police to say she was missing or that they needed a wellness check. because he hadn't heard from her, because he knew exactly like what had happened to her and where she had been.
Yeah.
Allegedly. It was revealed how back in 2014, Ana Walshe called police on Brian for allegedly threatening to kill her and her friend. But the case was closed when she refused to cooperate, according to a police report. And I'm just so intrigued what happened for her to call the police on him. Obviously, that was before they were married. You know, was there a kind of domestic abuse situation happening? You know, it's possible.
Right.
I remember the plastic line that officers saw in the back of his car that Brian later removed.
Yeah.
Well, when the car was inspected and analysed, there was blood found in the back of his car. So, I mean, the liner was obviously pointless, so good job. On the 5th of January, cell phone data showed Brian went to Swampscott, where his mum lives, and travelled to the corner of the apartment complex where there is the dumpster. 10 trash bags that originated from this dumpster contained bloodstains, cleaning materials, a hacksaw, a hatchet, a purse, and boots worn by Anna, and her COVID-19 vaccination card, which is random.
Must have just been something that was with her other stuff.
Yeah, it would have just been on her.
Yeah.
Yet police still didn't arrest Brian at this time, which I just think is crazy. You know, they've got all this CCTV and they've now found the bags, but
pretty mad.
For some reason that wasn't enough at that point. But, you know, these things do take time for some reason. But obviously once they found the blood in the basement along with the knife, that was kind of the final straw. And he was then arrested, like we know. But it wasn't until the 17th of January that Brian Walshe was finally charged with murder and disinterring. Disinterring? Disinterring.
Where is it? Disinterring?
Disinterring. It's like a 2R situation.
Yeah, disinterring. Yeah, I guess so, I don't know.
Finally charged with murder and disinterring, I'm saying that weird, of a body without authority. Which when I googled that, because I didn't know what that meant, the disinterring of body without authority, such an odd thing to say, like without authority. It obviously must mean something different for this case, but what it was saying was it's like when you dig up a grave.
Right.
But obviously, like,
well, I guess it's the mutilation of the body after they're dead.
I think there's other charges, but it differs from state to state, so I guess that's what they use for it.
Yeah, maybe.
I just thought that was really odd. I was like, well, he hasn't, but yeah. Anyway, doesn't matter. Prosecutor Beeland accused him of dismembering his wife and disposing of her remains in dumpsters. She also laid out some of the evidence that led to the charges, including the discovery of Ana Walshe's belongings and blood in the garbage and Brian Walshe's Google searches. A not guilty plea was entered on Brian Walshe's behalf. I mean, seriously. His attorney, Tracy Minor, issued a statement suggesting that evidence against him was not strong. She said, "In my experience, the prosecution leaks so-called evidence to the press before they provide it to me means their case isn't that strong. When they have a strong case, they give me everything as soon as possible. We shall see what they have and what evidence is admissible in court, where the case will ultimately be decided." And so Brian is held there without bail at this point. On March 30th, Brian was indicted by a grand jury on charges of murder, misleading investigators, and improperly conveying a human body. Which that sounds like the dismembering and disposing of. Anyway, doesn't matter. The indictment moves the case from Quincy District Court to Norfolk County Superior Court due to it being a major felony crime. April the 27th, Brian was arraigned in Norfolk County Superior Court and still pleaded not guilty to the charges. This is where prosecutors laid out a possible motive behind the alleged murder of Anna. They said Ana Walshe had taken out approximately $2.7 million in life insurance on herself, where Brian Walshe is the sole beneficiary. Tracy Minor countered the prosecution's notion that Brian was trying to cash in on his wife's life insurance policies. She said there is no evidence Mr. Walshe was the least bit needing of money. But
aside from his fraudulent attempts before.
That's it. And I always find rich people are the most desperate to keep, maintain, and get more money. Yeah, right. Well, they're the greediest ones of them all.
Once you hit a certain level of social status, you need to maintain it, don't you?
Yeah.
And there's only a certain way to do that, and that's to keep your pockets full of money.
Exactly. And noted that his mother, and just noted that his mother is wealthy, like he is in no need of money. Which is true. Like I've stated, Brian does come from a wealthy family.
Yeah.
However, that doesn't mean he himself is technically wealthy.
No.
However, another story from Brian's past would lead you to possibly think otherwise. But this will clearly cement in your minds how much of a dickhead this guy is.
Didn't you say he was like a CFO, though, of like a company or something?
Yeah, that's a lie.
Haha. Okay.
It's all a lie.
Carry on.
Around 2007, so we're going back in time again, Brian Walshe and his father, Dr. Thomas Walshe, were in contact with each other and were even considered close. I believe they, in fact, Brian lived with his dad still, very much in his pocket.
Right.
Friends of Thomas said they had never seen them argue or raise their voices to each other. Brian had a lot of mental health problems as a young man and spent a lot of time at Austin Riggs Center Psychiatric Hospital as a long-term patient and was apparently diagnosed as a sociopath.
Okay.
Interesting. And also not surprising. And I'm just wondering whether Anna knew about that side of Brian, but I don't think so.
Right.
I've just got a feeling. Anyway, throughout Brian's troubles, Thomas's friend describes Thomas as Tom never judged him, never belittled him, never expressed anger to him about where Brian was in his life. He was always supportive. Everything was as good as it could be, given these setbacks. And yet underneath, it was this unbelievable treachery and complete disregard for his father. And what his friend is referring to is that allegedly Brian disappeared with a cheque for over $800,000 of his father's money after he refinanced his home.
Blimey. Okay.
But Thomas was overwhelmingly concerned for his child more than the money.
Right.
Thomas's friend describes, keep in mind, Tom is waiting for a FedEx with the cheque the next day, and it didn't come. And he calls Brian, and Brian is nowhere to be found. And that lasted more than 10 years. His father was beside himself. What happened to my son? Did he get kidnapped, murdered? Did he have a gambling problem I didn't know about? So sad. Apparently Thomas was adamant that Brian wouldn't have stolen the money. He was in complete denial. The friend continued. Then it started creeping into Tom's mind. Could this possibly be? It took a couple of years, but through the use of a private investigator, they tracked down Brian, who was living with a friend in Maine. It wasn't like he asked his dad for money and his dad said no. He asked his dad for money and his dad always said yes. But he didn't want the money his dad gave him. He wanted double. And the saddest part of it all was how detrimental this was to his dad. Thomas's home went into foreclosure. His credit was destroyed, and he had to put off his retirement to stay afloat financially whilst being completely heartbroken that his only child has done this to him.
Yeah, absolutely. Horrible.
How awful
really horrible
is that story? And like you kind of hear it. When I first was researching, I saw, he's estranged from his father.
Yeah.
My mind automatically goes to like, oh God, the dad must be a bit of a
wrong
twat. Like, why, what's going on there? Why?
Yeah, something dubious might have happened there.
And then I found
past.
that, and I was just like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
like, it wasn't because it wasn't the dad that,
No.
didn't want to be around him at all. It was so sad. And he was just like living it up in Maine. Gross. But that wasn't it. After Thomas never heard from his son again, he made his nephew the executive of his estate. And in September 2018, Dr. Thomas Walshe died whilst travelling in India. Brian was informed of his father's death and didn't tell a soul. Instead, he broke into his father's home, found the will, his father's will, and destroyed it before anyone could see it. He then completely trashed the house and stole items such as jewellery, a car, and original Salvador Dali artwork that he then sold.
Right. Christ.
Luckily, a friend of Thomas had gone round before Brian and actually took a photo of the will.
Oh, okay.
Well done.
Well done,
good.
mate.
Well done, whoever did that. So smart. Therefore, he was able to prove that the will actually said, quote, "I hereby bequeath Brian R. Walshe my best wishes and nothing else from my estate." End quote. So good. Love that. Thomas Walshe had the sense to completely cut Brian out of his will, which is probably why Brian then trashed the house out of anger.
Right. Maybe. Unless he was just trying to make it look like a robbery and just wanted to nick a bunch of stuff.
Possibly. But I don't know if he knew he was out of the will.
Yeah, right. He probably thought he was still in it.
Yeah. He's an idiot. He tried to also sell a beach house that his father owned. He tried to sell it for like 200k over the asking price, and the house didn't even technically belong to him. Luckily, through the court system, he was stopped. However, this case about the will and everything like that was dropped, and Brian will not face charges for this.
Right.
But this just shows he stops at nothing to get money. Like, he betrayed his own dad and abandoned him for over a decade. Could he have done the same thing to his wife, like just for money?
Yeah, right. I mean,
I definitely think so.
Probably.
Yeah.
Especially if
I wouldn't be surprised.
Especially if he's made a threat to kill her in the past.
God, I'd love to know what that was about. So back to the case. In April, on the hacksaw detectives found in a dumpster near Brian's mum's house, after analysis, it was found to have a bone fragment on it. This was huge and was sent straight off for testing. Court documents revealed investigators found rugs that appeared to be from Anna and Brian's living room and kitchen that contained red-brown staining and numerous items identical to Brian's alleged purchases he had made at Lowe's and Home Depot. It was also revealed that Brian thought Anna was having an affair, and that after police searched Anna's phone, they confirmed this was in fact true. She had been
that she was having an affair.
Yeah,
right.
She was. Okay. Yeah, she had been having an affair with a man in Washington.
Right.
Which, I'm not surprised. She even spent Thanksgiving just a month before she was murdered with this guy in Dublin, in Ireland.
Oh God! Wow.
I don't know how she got away with that.
Yeah.
And then Brian's attorney admitted his mother hired a private investigator to trail Anna in Washington because she suspected she was having an affair. So she, however, claimed that Brian had nothing to do with it and had no reason to suspect his wife of infidelity until she vanished, which I think is a load of bullshit.
What, the mother?
Basically, Brian's mum is saying that she hired a private investigator, which is true.
Yeah.
But she's saying that Brian had no idea.
Right.
That she did that and that she was even having an affair.
Yeah.
Which is bullshit. Because why would the mum
do that?
Randomly kind of do that?
It
would have been Brian under Brian's kind of not instruction, but like he could have just said, "Oh, I think she's having an affair."
Yeah, right.
And then the mum then went and did it.
Yeah, that could be it.
But it would be a motive. That's why I think the mum's probably saying this.
Yeah, sure.
Anna had made it clear to friends that she was planning on leaving Brian. And she was even crying at a meal over her situation days before she disappeared. Brian's pre-trial hearing was rescheduled from the 23rd of August to the 2nd of November 2023, as both prosecutors and defence are expecting to have DNA results from an independent laboratory in approximately 2 weeks. So this put the whole trial on hold, just waiting for the precious DNA evidence to come back. Boston legal analyst Michael Coyne said, "DNA evidence is especially important because investigators never found Ana Walshe's body. Not only do prosecutors have to prove that he murdered his wife, they also have to prove that she's dead. A bone fragment in and of itself doesn't prove death necessarily. It proves she may have been injured. But they're trying to prove first-degree murder."
Yeah.
So that's going to be the difficulty in this whole trial,
Absolutely.
is proving that. However, it was all postponed again until January 23rd, 2024.
Right.
Yes.
The other week.
Yes, literally last week. And then an annoying thing happened.
Yeah.
Tracy Minor, Brian Walshe's private attorney, filed a motion to withdraw from the case.
Okay.
She didn't say in the hearing why she was withdrawing, but she understood that Brian was now indignant, meaning he cannot pay for a private lawyer anymore.
Right, I see.
Therefore, Judge Beverly Canone approved a court-appointed lawyer. With hundreds of pages of testimony and evidence for the new defence attorney to catch up on, the two sides agreed on the 4th of March as the next court date in the case. So, do we think she really left because of funding? Or, because she knew, this was a losing game for her?
Well, it might be a bit of both, yeah.
Yeah, because, if his mum's wealthy, why isn't she paying for the lawyer?
Well,
is she really wealthy?
If she believes him, or if she's... Well, yeah, exactly, you're right. I mean, if
she can't be that wealthy. She lives in a flat. No offence to that, but
right.
If she was wealthy, is how she's kind of being portrayed.
You might suspect
she'd be in a house,
in a home somewhere.
Yeah. But there wasn't a lot of information about his mum.
No.
So,
right.
But we'll never know. It's just really annoying as everything keeps getting pushed back. But it seems that the DNA evidence still hasn't come back anyway, so it would have been postponed regardless.
Right.
But let's just hope this doesn't turn into a Sarah Boone situation and go through several lawyers dragging things out. If you know, you know. The whole situation's the mess, but stuff's happening soon apparently. Doesn't matter. You can go watch our video on it. But that's it. That is the case up to date as of the 30th of January.
Yeah.
But I think it's pretty obvious this despicable man is guilty.
Yeah, it looks that way.
Even though...
Or sounds that way.
He made one smart move in distributing the body parts in several places into dumpsters that were going to be emptied and therefore incredibly hard to find. Everything else he did was completely idiotic and reckless. All the Google searches, his son's phone pinging everywhere, and then all the CCTV footage of him. And what is weird is how he put so much effort into getting rid of all the bloody things, the sores, the body, allegedly. He left a bloody knife and a blood stain in the basement, thinking what, they just weren't going to go down there. That just...
It's pretty dumb.
Yeah. Whether we don't know if they're connected to the case. I don't know. I don't know why else you would have a blood stain in your basement and a bloody knife. I don't really know. Unless is it a hunting type? I don't know. That was never mentioned that he liked hunting.
Right.
From what I researched about the guy, he thought he was the shit.
Right.
He thought he was so clever and superior, especially when he was constantly being funded by his father. He never had to work a day in his life and could just live a life of luxury.
That'd be nice.
Wow. Yeah, but it breeds just stupid people, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course it does.
He was used to throwing dinner parties costing up to $20,000 and told people he gained his money from creating a software program in college, which, as we know, is a complete lie. In fact, he was a manipulative, deceitful, lazy idiot who was jealous of his wife's massive success. She was rising up the ranks, earning the big bucks, buying properties, etc. Where he was at his lowest, stuck at home with absolutely no prospects, no money and no life, on probation. He knew about her affair and probably put two and two together that she was going to leave him, and then he would be left with nothing.
Right, yeah, because that would be all of his financing, wouldn't it, really?
Yeah, she was paying for a lot of things.
Yeah, sure.
Apart from his hustles.
Yeah.
That was it. So, did he become desperate? Who knows? But that's my theory, anyway, of motive.
Yeah, I mean, I'd argue that's probably relatively accurate.
Yeah.
If she was his...
bruised ego, money, affair.
Yeah.
Desperation.
Yeah.
And just terrible, just human being combination. Let's just hope some DNA comes back to link him and, some of her blood or tissue or anything, and just ties it all together. Otherwise, I'm not sure how this is going to go without the body being discovered. If there's not anything really concrete, he might get a lower charge, still get charged.
Yeah, he'll
you
still
don't
get
have to be
something.
Manslaughter or something like that, or second degree.
No.
But fingers crossed there is enough evidence. But that's it. As always, we'll update you later on the case when the trial starts, hopefully in March, like they're saying.
Yeah.
I have a feeling Brian won't ever admit what truly happened or why. No. But I'm hoping we'll get more of an insight into their marriage, at least from Anna's friends and family's perspectives, to see whether there was any kind of domestic abuse or what was the underlying tone of the relationship. It'd be quite interesting to get into all of that. And also I just wanted to mention, Anna and her 3 young children that are now left without a mother, who loved them so much, and now possibly, without a father too, even though he's a shitbag.
Yeah.
It must be such a difficult and confusing time for them. Unfortunately, they are in state custody, but at least they are together. And just, I just hope they get the help they need, and I don't know, it's difficult. State custody is not great, but hopefully they can get some help dealing with the loss of their mum at least, and stay together and stay strong together. And obviously Anna, who just was just, like I was saying, rising up in the ranks and just really coming into her own past couple of years, becoming an independent woman, and was about to start a new chapter of her life without this dickhead. And he's allegedly fucked it all up, basically. So, obviously she didn't deserve this, but...
No. Well, no human does, really.
No. But that's everything. We'll keep you updated. I imagine the trial's going to be quite interesting, so... Have you got anything to add?
I don't know, it's fairly wrapped up in some respects, isn't it?
There's quite a lot of information. It's quite awful, isn't it?
I mean, it's horrendous.
And we still don't know about the email, but I'm assuming that's from Brian.
Yeah, you'd think it probably
We'll find out in the trial. There's a couple of kind of loose tidbits that we'll find more information out about and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that'll be good.
No, I don't think I really have anything to add. I mean, it's just so sad for the kids, really.
The kids,
and,
yeah.
And Anna's family as well. I mean, it's a horrendous thing, for someone to be missing, and then obviously, you have to come to terms with the fact they're never going to come back, potentially. Yeah. And that's always...
And there's all this information that is out there, like hacksaw and heavy, bin bags and stuff like that. It's just must be horrible to know that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
To have that information out there is just quite awful, isn't it? But then also, you hear people that have missing children or family members, and they never find out what happens to them.
Right, yeah.
And they've got no information at all, and they say that's almost worse.
Yeah, and I can understand that to an extent. It's at
least there's some kind of closure on
the
fact that what might have happened to her,
Yeah,
But yeah. Okay, guys. Well, remember to like and subscribe, and leave us comments with what you think of this case and just how much of a dickhead Brian Walshe is. That would be great. And we'll see you next time.